Hi, everyone. I'm Rhonda Ellis.
And I'm Melissa Sutton. And this is Cultivating a Home,
the podcast. This is a place where we will talk about what really matters. Growing in our walk with Christ, building strong marriages, raising our children with intention, and creating peaceful, life-giving homes centered on Him.
We'll share practical encouragement, real-life stories, and biblical truth to help you cultivate a heart and home that reflects Jesus. New episodes are every Thursday, so let's step into today's conversation together. Rhonda, I'm so excited to be with you again today. We are continuing our conversation on how to create a peaceful home. And one thing that women have been telling us is that one of the things that contribute to them feeling like their home is not peaceful is because of clutter contributing to their stress. So how can people reduce clutter in their home?
I agree wholeheartedly with that, don't you?
Yes, for sure.
Girl.
It's so stressful.
It is.
The clutter makes you feel like we're out of control. Our life is out of control. Yeah.
Right. Sometimes I feel like the clutter in the house represents the amount of clutter in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I have to have some kind of order
Yeah.
for me to function the best.
Yeah.
And today with Amazon deliveries, there's more and more and more clutter.
Exactly.
So some suggestions that I have are consider the space that you live in and the space for different items. So do not buy more than you have space for, because that's when we start piling things up.
Mm-hmm.
Also think through systems you want. Where do you want to open your mail? I prefer to open it near the garbage can so I can have one step. If we can handle things once, it saves a lot of time and work. So I like to open the mail by the trash can, throw it right away, and then put like things together, group it by what needs to be done next. And you want to think about what the purpose is for each room. So literally walk through the space that you live in and think, okay, this is our bedroom. What do we want to be in our bedroom? And it'd be best not to put your dining room table in there and not to put the mail in there and to let the laundry pile up in there.
Yeah.
And you want to have some kind of order for that so that when people are putting away things, it makes sense.
Yeah.
When
you wake up in the morning, you don't want the first thing to see is your laundry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So grouping like things together and considering the functionality of each room and making sure what is in that room makes sense is very, very helpful. Another thing is consider the containers that you have. There's a lot of really pretty containers out there today that aren't necessarily functional. Square containers are stackable and you can fit a lot more in those kind of things, making sure that they're labeled well or clear really helps. So I have a story. Would you like to hear a story?
I always am here for a story.
So I think this is just so incredible, this revelation that I had. So one of my daughters needed some help in her writing class that she was taking, and I am not that person. I tried, and when she turned in her paper, she got a C. I was so proud of that paper. Apparently, she needed somebody else to help. So I called on my friend who is an English teacher, and I asked if she could help my daughter to, edit her paper and whatnot. So I went over to the house, and this is a really good friend of mine, and she was so helpful. Well, I went over there because she asked me to help her organize her house. So it just is crazy to me that organizing words and organizing a home should be the same skill set, but they're not.
Yeah.
So I went over there, and one thing that she and I laughed about in looking at the organization of her home, I was unloading her dishwasher, and I asked her teenage boys, hey, where do you put your peanut butter? And they go, just stick it anywhere. okay, well, where do these plates go? Just put it anywhere. And that is how they ran their house. They didn't understand the beauty of grouping light things together. That means plates, cups, things like that. It also means like pots and pans and cutting boards so that the whole family knows the place for things and it can function and it's less chaotic. You're not thinking, where did I put that this time?
Yeah.
And also, I know a lot of people have a junk drawer in their kitchen. I would really think through that, go through that junk drawer often and try to only keep things that fit the use in the kitchen. Or if your kitchen is your go-to for like, okay, the screwdriver, and that's where we keep some change, and that is your place to go to, that's fine. But go through it every once in a while and get rid of the stuff because it can't help but become a collect-all.
Mm-hmm.
And then your pantry, it is so helpful if you think through, okay, these are condiments, they all go together. These are snacks, they go together. These are canned items, they go together. Here's breakfast items. And it really, really helps free up the mind. It feels so much less like clutter. And I think that would really help people a lot. But my friend and I laugh about it because I helped her so much with things. And she was like, I just can't believe how much this helped me.
Yeah.
I feel like we're on top of things by organizing a house. And I felt like, thank you so much for helping my daughter organize her thought process on paper and edit her paper. So I think we all need each other. There's a little lesson in that. Like, let's have grace.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you just need another set of eyes to come in and say, hey, what do you think about this? This might be helpful. This works for me. So ask for help. Like, that's some good advice. Ask for some help. And
did you struggle with that as a young mom, letting someone help, or was that easy for you?
No, I think I struggled with that. Like, because you don't want to feel like or look like, well, I don't have it all together. But nobody does. And you can help them with something that they might be having and people want to help. They feel they get a blessing from it. So let them.
And it builds friendships.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want somebody to be more transparent with them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, or it's even a compliment to say, Melissa, could you come help me organize my pantry?
Yeah.
I noticed yours, you know where everything is.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to do that. Could you come over and help me? It's a compliment to you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also showing her a vulnerability that I have. And I think that's a really sweet way of developing a deeper friendship with people too. You know, a lot of people actually struggle with, they don't have toilet paper.
When they need it.
You go to their house and you need to go to the restroom and there's no toilet paper. So they're not even keeping on top of, like, think about it. Store things in the right room.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice to always have a roll of toilet paper on the roller, but then extras.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them in the drawer closest to the toilet or have one of those freestanding things where the extra toilet paper can be. And then I have found this to be extremely helpful is we have a list in our kitchen. It's just like 3x5 sticky pad that we keep in a drawer with a pen by it. Always. It doesn't leave that spot. Mm-hmm. And as we get close to running out, not after we've run out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that happens sometimes, but we want to think, we're down to a couple rolls of toilet paper. We put that on the grocery list. Mm-hmm. Now, some people put it on their phone. That's fine if that system works for you. But we've found having one place where the whole family can add to the list. Mm-hmm. Then when my husband calls, do you want me to pick up anything on the way home from work? Yeah, can you get toilet paper and we need milk and whatever? I can just go right to that list. Mm-hmm. We're all on top of it. Or if somebody says, we ran out of milk, well, they know the system and they're the ones that let it run out. Like they need to also put things on the list. So that has helped our family, and we still do that today.
Oh, yeah. I have to have a list, and having my people tell me when we run out of things and put it on the list, because if not, you might as well forget it, because I'm not going to remember when it's time to go to the store. I have to go back to my list.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's good advice.
Think about, what do we need to store in this bathroom?
Be well stocked.
Yeah, have it in there, and then have your go-to items. We talked about that, I think, on an earlier podcast. Have things that you never run out of and that you're on top of. so that you can have company over last minute and you go, okay, well, I always
That's
have
good.
brownies in the freezer and I just need to heat it up and
That's
then
good.
put some ice cream on it and we're good. So touch things once is a good principle that we just talked about. So that means like if you're decluttering, if you're going through room by room and you have your little sections of giveaway, throw away, or store away, you can, put all those things in the right place, but then you want to touch it only one time, take those items right where they go once. Don't go, okay, well then all of these things I'm going to put them all on the kitchen counter because they go in the kitchen somewhere. When you're ready to put those away, put them all in the right place.
That's good.
And I would be very, what's the word, like liberal on, I don't know if that's the right word, but really get rid of things.
Yeah.
Really get rid of it and think, okay, I would even go through, okay, how many pens do we really need?
Yeah, have a hard conversation with yourself and be realistic of what you really need.
And like how many staplers? Somehow we have 12 staplers. I think at the most we will need 2.
Yeah.
And give those away or take them to your local charity. But kind of be ruthless. That's the word that I think describes it. And, there was a time when I went through all of our sheets per bedroom and I was ruthless. I was like, how did we get 10 sets of sheets?
Yeah.
We need 2.
Yeah.
1 on the bed and 1 ready to put on the bed. 2.
Yeah.
And I gave them away and that's freeing. And you can do that with a lot of items. And every once in a while for our pantry, I will go through and go, you know what? I no longer cook like that. So I'm not even using these items and try to really think, what do we use? Same thing with freezer and refrigerator. Lean up. The less we have, the freer our mind is for sure. Even thinking ahead, like when you're buying Christmas presents for your kids, think, do I have the space?
Yeah.
They would love this item, but after they open it, where are we going to house this? Is this going to cause undue stress? Because I will never have a place to put it. So really think through that. And another thing that I heard, which I thought was super helpful, is know what space is very important for you to have cleaned. And for me, it is the kitchen island. When I have Rhonda Day and I'm watching the grandkids, there's 3 different diaper bags that we keep on one of the counters in the kitchen, but I don't want it to be on the main island counter. I want that free, cleared. It just makes me feel better not to have clutter on that particular place. But then when I'm prepping a meal, that is where I prep. And I heard this from the Lazy Genius podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it was genius.
Yeah.
But she said, instead of putting away each item after each ingredient, she said, have a place that it's your zone that you are going to put the mayonnaise and the ketchup and the relish or all these things after you use it. Just put it there. And then you open the refrigerator once and put everything away. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I did learn way too late to have not known this, but I learned like have a bowl or something. I use a kind of a big handheld mixing bowl. And that's when I'm chopping vegetables or whatever, that's where I put the food debris in there. And then I empty it out after I've finished instead of continuously going to the garbage can,
to the trash can.
to the trash can. So
I like her too.
She's great.
The lazy genius. That's really good. Okay, so that was the first thing that women say that really contributes to not having a peaceful home is the stress of the clutter. So those were really good tips. Okay, secondly is a busy household. So how can we continue to have a peaceful home even though it's a busy home and perhaps loud, and which is good. That's great. That's showing that you have a lot of life and fun in your household. So all those things are good things, but what can we do to, even though it might be busy and loud, how can it also be peaceful?
That's a good question, because laughter and playfulness and singing at the top of your lungs can be loud, or the kids playing the drums.
Yeah.
And when we were homeschooling, we'd have a kid playing the drums. Same time somebody was playing a different song on the piano and da-da-da-da. So it was chaos. If you just walked into our home, you'd think, what in the world? How can you even function in here? But I think there is some element for the kids to learn how to cooperate, but they're doing different things, but they can focus on their thing, and everybody's playing an instrument and it's okay. So that's good training, but that's not what we're talking about. So I just wanted to say, give yourself grace for that. But yesterday I was at the doctor, and in the waiting room, there was a lady, a mom of 2 young children, and she was like, sit down. I said, sit down. And the kid, one was very, very little, and he had so much energy, but she wasn't even looking at them. She would just yell. And that is what's going on in a lot of homes. We're yelling at our kids because we haven't done the work to teach them how we would like for them to behave. The lady, I wanted to help her because she was very stressed. And that's what happens when we don't teach our children, is we end up being stressed, and then they become stressed, and we are raising anxious families.
Yeah.
We can spend some time training ahead for whatever things that we see in our home that need changing. Like if you have children that talk really loud, there are some people that don't know. You realize I'm sitting right next to you, right?
Yeah.
And they talk like you're 4 rooms away. And so we can teach our children to lower their voice. We can practice that with them of, hey, talk a little softer here to match the distance that we are from each other. And we also could be on top of the disrespect that takes place in the home, because that is certainly chaotic behavior that we want to remove. We want to teach them how to be respectful individuals that honor their dad and their mom and that love their siblings. Now, there's going to always, be things that we have to deal with, sibling conflict and whatnot, but we can teach children how to handle it by respectfully, how to have conversations, how to recognize their sin in the issue or what they're trying to get from it, like being, you want your way, but you need to share. Or, you might see that their anger is what's causing the noise level and the chaos, and that's what you need to work on and address with that child. And another thing is we can teach our kids sign language. We've taught all of our kids and even our grandkids now who are 3 and under baby sign language, which is just sign language, but to little ones. So one of the main reasons we teach that to them is so they have a way to communicate their thoughts. Kids naturally scream, they want their way, they throw food, they whine, and there's a better way. We can teach them to stop that behavior, and we can show them how to put their 2 hands together to say more or please, thank you, apple. We can teach them, think whatever you are dealing with your kid, whatever is your little ones, whatever is part of your daily thing, like bread or banana or grapes. Look up that sign language. It's so easy today to just look up on your phone. Hey, give me the sign language for cheese and bread and milk. And teach them that. Teach them how to say more. And the way you do it is you look at their eyes, you hold their hands, you show them how to do it, and you applaud them for doing it. And they can do it at a very young age. They can do it even starting before 1, begin this kind of training. That way, you have given them the skill set to not be a screamer, a yeller, to not demand their way, to not be entitled. It starts young. And I would highly suggest doing baby sign language. And then as they get older, you can teach them quiet signals or even eye contact. Like you could be at a restaurant, but train ahead. Teach them these things
at home.
Right. And operate this way at your house too. You don't always have to use words to correct behavior. Like I remember being out to dinner with friends, and our kids had already learned this trait, but I could look at them if they were getting rowdy. Like, okay, the point of correcting behavior at a restaurant is to be respectful of the other people eating at the restaurant who are paying to eat and would like a quiet atmosphere, as well as to the serve staff and those you're eating with. So the motive is to be respectful. So if our kids and the other kids whose families we've joined up with are beginning to be rowdy, we can catch their eye and just look at them, not with the evil eye, but just a gaze, and they can know to settle down. I remember someone telling us they taught their kids with using the number 1 finger and the number 2. One meant quiet down, and 2 fingers meant sit down. It wasn't for, everybody to notice that they taught their kids to look at these signs. It was so that it was just a super quiet type of behavior management, making the kids aware of what to do to be respectful. And so you role play at home so that when they're at the restaurant. And what I remember happening is they could be at a restaurant where other people are behaving that way, and they could help quiet down the atmosphere, not by being a bully or making anybody feel bad, but they just knew how to help calm things down. And you could be like 10 people away at a restaurant from them.
Yeah.
And so those little signs are super helpful. Another thing that is very common is kids going, mom, 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 and interrupting from a very young age, from 2. Or those of you listening, whatever your kids' ages are now, you could start this and you could implement it in a way that fits their age group. But when they're very young, you can teach them when you are talking to an adult or you're on the phone. I mean, how many times have we been on the phone with someone with little kids and they're screaming in the background?
Yeah.
Or it's happened to us too, right? Let's be real. I remember running and hiding in a closet talking on the phone many times just so I could get away from the noise level. So have grace. But you can work towards doing this where you teach your children to put their hand on your hip until so they're waiting quietly. Their hand's not on your hip going, mom, 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 and pulling your shirt. And you role play it with them. Their hand is on your hip and you put your hand on their hand, which means I know you're there. And as soon as I can, I'm going to give my attention to you. And make sure you do that you do honor that they are being very respectful of you. And then they wait, and then you say, yes, Sally, what did you want? And then she could say what she wants, and then you can go back to talking. The same thing is true. Teach them when you are on the phone to play quietly and whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of you that work from home, and you really need them to be quiet. So go over what that looks like, what you expect from them, with the motive being that we're being respectful of each other in our home. And likewise, we want to be respectful of them, that they did want to talk to us. We want to make sure that we do answer their questions when we can.
Well, and I think it's helpful that instead of having to do that over and over and over again, you teach it early and you teach it once. Not that we don't all need reminders, but if you go ahead and teach it, then that becomes so much more peaceful in your home because you're not having to constantly say, I'm on the phone.
Right.
I'm on the phone. Remember, like if you just can teach it one time and say, when I am on the phone or when we are out somewhere and I'm talking to another adult, this is what you're going to do. And so instead of that having to be constantly, no, I can't, like I'm on the phone. If you can teach it once, it helps so much with your stress. So to kind of go over the 2 things that people said were causing them to not have a peaceful home is clutter, and then like disorganization, clutter, and then secondly, the calming atmosphere, just because of noise or because of the small space that you're living in or having a busy home. And you can kind of picture this. Like I'm picturing people who, have said that this is an issue, walking into the living room, a mom walking into the living room, TV blaring, kids running maybe, or arguing, not getting along, loud toys, and they just immediately feel that stress of just like, this is out of control. And when you feel like that, you feel like we're out of control. You immediately think, okay, the house is out of control, so we're out of control. And it just causes so much stress. And people want to have peace. They are, that's the goal, to have a peaceful home. So those are the 2 scenarios that people are saying that's what's causing them to not have peace. A calming atmosphere. What are some tips that you can give for having a calming atmosphere? And we're going to kind of wrap up this episode with that.
Well, I want to go back and address something else. I think when I put myself into the place of being a mom of littles again, something that I have observed, and I definitely remember myself being in this, was we can reach a boiling point.
Yeah.
if we continue to not address disobedience. And we did talk about in a former episode the importance of teaching, role-playing with the kids to respond the first time. If they don't, then we're continuing to say, I said. And then we just get so mad when we should have only said what we really meant, right?
Right.
And then if they didn't do it, like if you say, clean up your toys. Well, if you said it, you really should mean it.
Yeah.
And if they whine, if they ignore you, then you can kind of do a self-examination here. Wait, how did my kids respond when I told them to do something?
Yeah.
This is so important. We need to do this all the time. Constantly check on this because we're the ones letting them. So, for example, if I say, clean up your toys, and nobody does, guess what it tells me? It tells me I've allowed them to not listen to me.
Yeah.
So who needs to change? Me.
Yeah.
So role play with them. Say, hey, I've noticed that you guys, it's depending on their age, I've noticed you guys aren't obeying. So we're going to practice.
Yeah.
Or you don't even have to say that part. You just say when I say what we're going to do, you need to do it and you need to practice that with them. Okay. If they don't, something needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right? You need to go over if they're little and say, like, get on their eye level with them and say, like, let's say this is a 3-year-old. Mommy just told you it's time to clean up your toys. Remember, we also said give them like 5 minutes notice.
Yeah.
Okay. But mommy said it's time to clean up. And you literally take their hands if you have to, and you pretend that they're really cleaning up. You have to win these things so that they're learning to be obedient. And ultimately, the training is we want to listen to God the first time.
Yeah.
When he prompts our heart, hey, give $10 to that person, or take that person a meal, or pray for that person right now. Or, Rhonda, you have been ugly to your husband. I want to listen right away to anything that he prompts, he puts on my heart. And that's what we're teaching our kids. The motive is to obey. It's to be respectful. It's not a dictatorship at all. We're the leaders in our home who are teaching our children to be kind, loving, respectful. And all of that cultivates into a calm home when people abide by the boundaries and the rules. But remember what we also said is rules without relationships equal rebellion. So we want to make sure that we are loving our kids and saying wonderful words of encouragement to them, not fluff, but really pointing out beautiful qualities that we see in them.
It also might be a little bit of a wake-up call. If you are going into the living room, say, and it's chaos and people are not being obedient to clean up or settle down, it might be that there are too many toys or there's too much going on. And so it might be first, if you could say, pick up the blocks and the books and put those in your room. And then they come back and you can say, now put away the Hot Wheel cars and, et cetera. And it might just be that from now on, the only thing that you can bring into the living room is fill in the blank, because it just might be that it's just too much. And so when you say clean up your toys, it might be overwhelming to them because there are too many toys.
That is such a good point. I'm glad you pointed that out. One of ours, I discovered he was not able to do more than 2 things. And you might have a child like that where you say broadly, clean up the room, or you give them, and what I discovered was I asked him to clean his room. Well, actually, earlier than that, I said, could you put away your shoes and the jacket? And I pointed to 3 things. He couldn't do it. He was little, but he could not do it. And I discovered I had to give him one thing at a time, just like you were saying. And also a kid that if you let it go too far,
yes,
they just don't have the capability of cleaning their entire room.
Yeah, it's like a shutdown.
It is. Yeah. They get paralyzed. I mean, don't some of us? I do sometimes too. And so we want to be respectful of the different ways our kids are wired and think about that. Another thing is sometimes our kids might be having, little ones might be having a meltdown, and you might be losing your mind, but the truth could be they might be tired.
Oh,
So run that
for
through your mind first before you allow yourself to unfairly punish them or, think ill of them when they simply might just need you to rock them.
They're exhausted.
Or lay them down.
Yeah.
Those kind of things will help you with your sanity.
Yeah.
I think that is often the case. They're out of control because they're just too tired or they need boundaries or, like you said, they need less choices.
They're overstimulated.
Yeah. In fact, when you give them lunch today, do not say, would you like the red or the blue cup?
Yeah.
Teach them to just take whatever cup you have.
Yeah. And it's just too much.
And you can tell them before, hey, I'm going to give you your drinks today for lunch. And I don't want anybody to complain. You're going to, whatever you get is what you get.
Yeah.
And you begin to teach them these kind of things slowly and slowly.
Yeah.
And I forgot the other question that you asked before I went back to fill in something I remembered.
No, that's okay. It was just talking about the calming atmosphere, even when it's loud, even when it's busy. Those things aren't bad things. So, but how can we, even though it's like that, how can we also stay calm? Also with the toys and all of that, if there's arguing about toys, if that's one thing that you're seeing in your home is there's just arguing and then that just is a vicious cycle, then we're all stressed, is also one thing that I learned was we want our kids to share. And if toys are brought out into the living room, we want the kids to share with them. But sometimes I realized that if there is certain things that your child has that might be really special to them, they need to keep that in their room because that might be a constant conflict of your child bringing a toy into the living room, not wanting to share it, and then that causes the other child to be angry or yelling or whatever. There are some things that they can keep in their room that they don't share. I think that's okay if it's things that maybe your child has a guitar or something like that.
Or a special Lego set.
Exactly. And that's okay for them to not share it. But we always said, if you bring it in the living room,
fair game.
It's fair game. You're having to share. But if there is things that are really special to you, leave it in your room and you don't have to share it. But if it comes out here, don't get upset if someone touches it, etc. But yes, calming. How can you keep it calm even though it's busy and loud?
I think you got to take a good look at what is, just look around. What is causing the noise level here?
Yeah, that's good.
And if they're good, healthy things, productive things like instruments or kids playing, or I remember this from when my kids were young, or they're making a mess cutting snowflakes into tiny little paper pieces.
Ooh.
But you take a good, healthy look at each thing and think, okay, the
fine.
Music is good.
Yeah.
And 6 different instruments at the same time, six different songs. But it's good. And they're learning patience from each other. So I need to also learn patience.
Yeah.
I need to practice that. Just a lot of that growing for me that took place in it.
Yeah.
But then the paper debris all over the place.
Yeah.
I began to really ask the Lord to show me the beauty in each child. And I started looking at it okay, what's the goal here? The goal isn't a clean house. And in order to have a clean house, you can't do that because I don't want you to make a mess. The goal is teach her how to clean up the mess that she's made so that she can be as creative as she wants. And I'm not losing my mind. She's learning to clean up all the paper. Teach her how to use a vacuum cleaner. Teach her how to brush all the little paper trimmings off the table directly into the garbage can. Praise her for the creative talents and uses that she had. That child I'm talking about right now is about to graduate with her master's in architecture from Penn.
Yeah.
And I think she had so much opportunity to be creative.
Yeah.
And I remember doing exactly what you're asking about right now, practicing patience because I wanted my children to flourish in the different ways that God had designed them, but I knew I had to let go of certain things.
Perfection.
Yeah. Or I didn't want my children to walk around on eggshells. I wanted them all to feel safe and comfortable and free to be them within the home. And if I was to complain, like, get that paper up, which I did from time to time, right? I certainly did things like that. Then I would be raising other children who would be critical of each other like that. And there'd be more yelling or demands or frustrations within them. But I absorbed a lot of the growth. Like, Lord, let me be patient. And what happened was they were patient with each other with playing different instruments. It still amazes me. I have this vision of our oldest son was probably a young middle schooler, and we were homeschooling, and he was doing his work at the dining room table, his math, and he had his little sister who was probably 1 on top of his shoulders, and he's just doing his math, and another one's pulling things off the desk, off the table, and there's somebody playing instruments in the background. And that was just life.
Yeah.
Lots of chaos going around, but not bad chaos, just busyness, but kids learning patience with each other, kids enjoying the relationships within the home, and me practicing patience.
Yeah.
And learning to admire the beauty of what I really saw.
Yeah.
And then when things were, like when kids were mean or disrespectful in a negative way of chaos happening, immediately trying to correct it or let them work it out, but watch to make sure just making sure they worked it out well so that they learned to own their own problem and apologize for what they did.
Yeah.
And
that's really good because there's the good chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Take kind of a look around, and this is good chaos. The instruments are being played, like you said, that kind of thing. That's good chaos. It's not good chaos when it's fighting or
hitting,
yelling or, that kind of
demanding
thing.
their way.
Right.
Yeah. Like, the little ones would pull papers off the desk because they were trying to stand up, like learning to stand up and walk, and they would just bother the older ones, but the older ones were being taught, have grace, be patient, they're little and all. So here's a sweet little example. This brings tears to my eyes. One day I was sitting in church with my family, but my oldest son was next to me, and he was like young college age, I think, and maybe late high school. And I opened my Bible up, and there's scribbles in the front, and under it had an arrow pointed to it, and it says, John 3 was here, and I had the date. There was just little tiny pen marks, right? Like circles. And this is all without talking because church was going on. I pointed to it and I smiled at him. Like, I could have yelled at him that day or whatever. Not that day, but when he did it. But I just put, John was here. I didn't let them deface property on a regular basis, but that got by without me noticing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I put, he was here. He opened his Bible up, and there was scribble in it, and it said, Heather was here.
Cute.
That's his little sister, 11 years younger than him.
Yeah, that's so cute.
The advantage is they're learning to go with the flow and see the beauty in things.
Yeah.
But we do want to stop hurtful behavior, disobedience, and things like that. But step back and look at
people over things.
People over things. Perfect. Yeah. Great way to close.
That's sweet. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And we'll be back next Thursday with another episode. Thanks for spending this time with us today. We hope you're walking away encouraged and equipped with something simple you can put into practice right where you are. Remember, it's the small, faithful choices that shape the atmosphere of your home. So wherever you are today, keep cultivating hearts and homes for Christ.